It's a question that has perplexed humanity from as early as the ancient Greeks all the way to the 21st century, and we're still dying to know. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? The question would be simple if we took it literally. Egg-laying animals existed far before chickens came about, so technically the egg came before the chicken. But this question, better worded as the chicken or the chicken egg, focuses more on the cyclical cause and consequence. That is, if a chicken is born from an egg, where did the egg come from? Another chicken, presumably, which too must have come from an egg. So which came first? On the one side, we have Team Chicken. Research suggests that the protein essential for the formation of chicken eggs, called OV17, is only found in chicken ovaries. Without it, the chicken eggshell could not be formed. So, without a chicken, you technically can't get a chicken egg. But this all depends on the nature and definition of a chicken egg in the first place. After all, is a chicken egg an egg laid by a chicken or one that simply contains a chicken? Obviously, the OV17 bearing chicken had to come from somewhere, but if an elephant laid an egg from which a lion hatched, would it be an elephant egg or a lion egg? This leads to the other side of the story, Team Egg. During reproduction, two organisms pass along their genetic information in the form of DNA, but the replication of this DNA is never 100% accurate and often produces minor changes for the new organism. These small mutations in DNA over thousands of generations create new species, but these genetic mutations must occur in the zygote or initial cell. So, a creature very similar to a chicken, which we could call a proto-chicken, would have mated with another proto-chicken, and because of a small genetic mutation, created the first chicken, which grew in an egg. So, the egg came first? Well, Team Chicken might argue that this was simply a chicken growing inside of a proto-chicken egg. However, no one mutation can ever really constitute a new species. Even though we humans like to classify all creatures into different groups and names, this is based on how things currently are and not how they were millions of years ago. The process of evolution is so gradual that no one proto-chicken to chicken birth could really be considered a new species at the time. Much like how dogs have come from wolves. As humans began to interact with and domesticate wolves, there was no one single point where a wolf gave birth to a dog, but rather, as particular traits came about from selective pressures, such as choosing wolves who were not afraid of humans or ones that were less aggressive, over many generations we can see big genetic and behavioral trait differences. So, where does this leave us? We're left with two scenarios. Some early egg-laying species gradually led to the creation of the proto-chicken, which laid proto-chicken eggs. In one of these eggs, there was a mutation causing a slight change in selective advantage, and this was ultimately the first chicken, which then went on to lay chicken eggs. In this case, the chicken technically came first. Or we have a proto-chicken which gave birth to a chicken inside of what we would classify as a chicken egg, and as such, the egg came first. Which brings us back to the nomenclature and question of what is a chicken egg, which is a fairly meaningless question. But at the end of the day, what we can all agree on is that regardless of whether it was a chicken egg or a proto-chicken egg, the first true chicken came from an egg. The egg came first.
Este tipo de videos de divulgación científica son uno de los formatos ideales para poder explicar temas que son muy complejos de una manera más simple. Pero el principal desafío sigue siendo poder motivar a las personas a que consuman contenidos educativos. Y ese es el objetivo que tiene la charla de Steve Jobs, que es una de las charlas motivacionales más importantes de la historia y que se realizó en la Universidad de Stanford.
So don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary. When I was young, there was an amazing publication called the Whole Earth Catalog, which was one of the Bibles of my generation. It was created by a fellow named Stuart Brand, not far from here in Menlo Park, and he brought it to life with his poetic touch. This was in the late 60s, before personal computers and desktop publishing, so it was all made with typewriters, scissors, and Polaroid cameras. It was sort of like Google in paperback form 35 years before Google came along. It was idealistic, overflowing with neat tools and great notions. Stuart and his team put out several issues of the Whole Earth Catalog, and then, when it had run its course, they put out a final issue. It was the mid-1970s, and I was your age. On the back cover of their final issue was a photograph of an early morning country road, the kind you might find yourself hitchhiking on if you were so adventurous. Beneath it were the words, "Stay hungry, stay foolish." It was their farewell message as they signed off. Stay hungry, stay foolish. And I have always wished that for myself. And now, as you graduate to begin anew, I wish that for you. Stay hungry, stay foolish. Thank you all very much.
Yeah.